Have you ever just known that something was going to go wrong, but you decided to stay quiet anyway? You knew that that conversation needed to happen. The tensions were growing. That trust was cracking, but you decided to wait because maybe it would all blow over. Maybe it just wasn't the right time, or maybe you thought they were just going to come around on your own and you wouldn't have to be the bad guy. That's how most leaders lose their influence. It's not with one big giant mistake, but 100 quiet moments of avoidance. You know, there's an old Japanese proverb that says, if you board the wrong train, the sooner you decide to get off the train, the less the return trip is going to cost. That's a great saying. And it's not just about trains, it's about conflict, because the longer you wait to address conflict, the more expensive it becomes in trust, in morale, in your team's cohesion, in people in general. And the leaders who avoid conflict, they think that they're keeping the peace, but what they're really doing, they're just letting the damage compound. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a better way. I'm going to show you how to recognize tension early and then how to respond without escalating. And then we're going to talk about how to lead through conflict without losing trust in the process. Because great leaders, they don't avoid conflict. They use it to transform their teams. If you happen to be one of the many people who believe that avoiding conflict feels like control, don't worry, you're not alone. But in reality, this isn't a win. It's just a slow surrender. You see, the longer you delay addressing the tension, the more damage it does. Quietly and visibly, but damage nonetheless. It starts small. It's a teammate who shuts down during a meeting. Maybe two department heads who stop looping each other in. It's a problem that is now getting sugarcoated instead of solved. And then one day you realize you're leading a group of people who just don't trust each other. Or even worse, they no longer trust you. I've walked into units like that more time than I care to remember. Units where the previous leadership avoided those hard conversations for far too long. The tensions were already calcified. Units where good people were already checked out and the high performers already decided to walk. These breakdowns didn't happen all at once. They happened gradually because nobody named the problem when it was still small enough to fix. Here's the simple truth. Avoiding conflict doesn't protect your relationships. It really just erodes them, because when a leader doesn't speak up, the team begins to learn something. They learn that silence is safer than honesty, that resentment is easier than resolution, that discomfort is permanent and nobody is coming to fix it. And eventually, even the best teams become transactional. People just do enough. They don't speak up. They stop caring, because caring without support, I'm going to tell you, it's exhausting. So if you're in a leadership role, especially a new one, and quite possibly you inherited tensions that you didn't even create, or you've just been putting off a conversation that you know needs to happen, this is your checkpoint. Because that cost of avoidance, it doesn't show up all at once, but I promise you, it always shows up. And the sooner you address it, the more trust you're going to preserve. Coming up next, I'm going to show you how to lead through conflict with calm, not by overpowering the moment, but by becoming that type of leader who doesn't rise with the chaos. In high conflict environments, the worst thing that a leader can do is rise with the chaos. I've seen it too many times. A situation gets tense, emotions begin to flare, somebody gets loud, so the leader decides to get louder. Someone loses composure, so the leader doubles down to reassert their control. It's understandable. It's probably human nature, but it's not leadership. It's just matching emotion for emotion. It's very primal and primitive. But here's the truth. You don't diffuse chaos by adding more chaos. You steady it by refusing to mirror it. I made this a personal rule. I will not match the chaos in the room. No matter how tense the moment might be, I will be the calmest person in it. Not because I'm passive, but because I understand what actually is happening. When someone's in an emotional spiral, they're not thinking clearly. This doesn't speak less of them. This is just acknowledging psychologically what is happening. They're not ready to hear logic. They're not absorbing your solutions. It's really no different than trying to reason with a child mid-outburst. In that particular moment, they're not reachable by intellect. They're reacting from emotion. And adults, we aren't that different in conflict. So if I try to inject logic too soon, all I'm doing is fueling that fire. What the person needs isn't a correction. They need a calm presence to stabilize that space. That's what leaders do. They don't dominate the moment. They anchor it. And I'll tell you what, it's not easy, because when somebody challenges you, when a conversation begins to turn hostile, when you begin to feel your own pulse rising, it takes real discipline to stay steady in that moment. But that's the type of discipline that builds trust, because your team, I promise you, they're watching you. not just for what you say, but for how you show up when things are the hardest. They'll remember if you lose your cool. They're going to remember if you listen first. They're going to remember if your presence made that room feel safer or more tense. So the next time that you feel conflict beginning to rise, don't ask yourself, how do I win this moment? Ask yourself, how do I stay grounded so that others can come back down? And that brings us to the tool that'll help you do exactly that. Coming up next, I'm going to walk you step by step through the CLEAR framework. It's a clear tactical approach to navigating conflict with calm, clarity, and trust. So, how do you actually lead through conflict without losing control or your mind? Without breaking the trust that you're trying so hard to protect? You need something simple, something tactical, something that you can fall back on in real time when the tensions are high. That's why I developed the CLEAR framework. This isn't just corporate jargon. It's field-tested leadership built in some of the most high-stakes pressure environments imaginable. Here's how it works, and please forgive me, I'm a retired sergeant major, so I love some acronyms. The first part of the framework is to simply calm yourself. Before you ever say a word, you need to control you. Take a breath, lower your shoulders, regulate your tone. When you calm yourself, you calm the space around you. And if you can't steady yourself first, you have absolutely zero chance of steadying your team. I've had Marines yelling, tempers flaring, and I've had to lead those moments without escalating them. It always starts here. Don't rise with the noise. Don't match chaos with chaos. Next, we listen to understand. This one gets repeated a lot in theory all the time, but it's rare in practice. When somebody is upset, don't just listen for the facts. Listen for what is underneath it. What are they afraid of? What feels threatened to them? What is the story that they are telling themselves? Because most of the time, the real conflict isn't what's being said out loud in the moment. It's what's unsaid that's driving the behavior. Next, we evaluate the issue. Now that you've listened, slow it down. What is actually going on here? Is it a systems problem? Perhaps a communications issue? Maybe it's even a personality clash. What's worth fighting for here? And what's just noise? Leaders who decide to skip the step, they end up solving either the wrong problem or they make this problem worse. Next, we act with intention. This is where you respond, not react. Respond with clarity, calm, and purpose. You don't need a clever comeback. This isn't high school. You need a centered message that moves the team forward. Sometimes that means a correction. Sometimes it just means a conversation. Sometimes it's just holding the space and telling somebody else that, I hear you. We're going to figure this out. And finally, we repair the relationship. Most leaders stop once the conflict is over, but that's where the real work starts. Trust isn't rebuilt through a single apology. It's rebuilt through consistency, through follow-ups, through follow-through, making sure that the tension doesn't just go quiet. It gets addressed. If you choose to skip this step, you do not fix the conflict. You just press pause until the next one. Let me say this. If this kind of approach to leadership really resonates with you, if you're somebody who wants to lead with influence, not just authority or the title that you've earned, I've put together a guide that drives even deeper into this very topic. It's called The 10 Steps to Confidently Leading High-Performing Teams, and it's packed with practical tactical strategies, how to build trust, fix broken culture, and then lead when the pressure's really on. And here's the best part. I'm giving it away completely free, no strings attached. Just check the link in the video description below to grab your free copy. No fluff, just real-world tools that you can use right away. All right, so we talked about the CLEAR framework in principle, but let me show you what this framework looks like in real life. Many years ago, I took over one of the most misunderstood and emotionally charged sections that I've ever led. We were responsible for processing Marines who had deserted from service and then had been returned by law enforcement for out-processing. This was a job that most people wanted nothing to do with. These Marines were not seen as a priority, and I promise you, at large, they were seen as a problem. And the section, it sure reflected that. The tension was thick, morale was absolutely non-existent. Walking into that, I knew really just one thing. I couldn't fix this with my rank. I couldn't bark orders and expect to change a group of individuals who chose to completely forego adhering to leadership and rules and regulations. I had to lead differently, so I applied every principle that you just heard. First, I stayed completely calm. I refused to match the frustration in the room. Even when people were absolutely checked out, even when the tensions were high, I promised to ground myself. If I had decided to come in hot, it would have only confirmed what they had already believed to be true, that leadership didn't care. But when I stayed steady, it started to shift the entire temperature of the room. Then I began to listen, not to react, but to understand. I asked them questions, all of them. Then I listened, not to react, but to better understand. I asked questions, a lot of questions, and I talked to the Marines, every single one of them, and often. I listened to the staff. Some of the stories that I heard were absolutely heartbreaking. Others were frustrating, but behind every story was something incredibly human. And once I had that perspective, I evaluated the real issue. It wasn't just behavior, it was neglect. This section had been treated like some sort of dumping ground. There was no structure, there was zero attention, there was absolutely no dignity in it. So I acted with intention. I didn't decide to overhaul everything overnight. I started with expectations, tone, routine, respect. I didn't punish people for the past. I gave them something to believe in right now. And slowly, one day at a time, we started to repair the relationships. People showed up with more purpose. The tensions dropped. The energy completely changed, not because the job got any easier, it actually got harder, but because that they saw someone cared enough about them to lead them well. That's what conflict resolution looks like in the real world. It's not a perfect script, it's definitely not a flawless win, but it's a moment where you choose calm over control, you choose presence over power, and you choose clarity over chaos. That's what clear looks like in action, not in a training room, but in a unit nobody wanted to lead. Now, let's zoom out for just a moment, because the clear framework, it isn't just about conflict. It's about what type of a leader you choose to be in that very moment when it counts the most. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you exactly why conflict might be the number one most important leadership test that you'll ever face. There's something that I've learned about conflict, the kind that shakes a room, tests relationships, and threatens to undo all your progress. It doesn't just reveal your leadership, it refines it. Anyone can lead when the waters are calm, but real leadership, it's measured in the height of the storm. Because conflict isn't a sign that your team is broken, it's really just a sign that your people care. They care enough to push back, to speak up, to fight for something that they believe in, even if it's messy. That's not necessarily dysfunction, it's energy, and your job as a leader is to direct it. But here's the truth. If your team cannot trust you to lead during conflict, they are not going to follow you when it matters. This is what separates managers from leaders. It is not the title, it's not the rank, and it sure as heck is not the corner office. It's how you show up when things are tense, when people are emotional, and when resolution feels completely out of reach. This is the heart of everyday diplomacy. It's not about being soft. It's not about avoiding friction. It's about handling tension without tearing people down. It's about protecting the relationships while also addressing the problem. It's about staying calm, speaking clearly, and standing firm. Not to overpower the room, but to completely stabilize it. Because when people remember how you handled conflict, they don't remember how fast you solved it. They remember how you made them feel afterwards. Whether they felt heard, whether they felt safe, whether they left that conversation with more or less trust. That's the leadership legacy that you build in conflict. And if you get this right, you don't just fix a problem, my friend. You completely create and rewrite a culture. All right, well, if you're still following us at this point, one, I'm completely honored, and I'm very impressed with how much you care about becoming a better leader. But let's bring this home. We started with a very simple idea, that the longer you avoid conflict, the more it's going to cost you in the long run. And throughout this entire video, we've unpacked what great leaders do differently. They do not match chaos with more chaos. They don't power through with authority. They lead with calm. They listen with intention. They respond with absolute clarity. They choose to stay clear. Because leadership, it isn't about controlling people. It's about creating the type of environment where trust can grow, even when things get tense. And I'll tell you what, that's not something that happens by accident. Never. It takes tools. It takes discipline. It takes the willingness to lead through moments that most people decide to run from or avoid. This is one of the reasons that I decided to create the Everyday Diplomat, to give leaders just like you the strategies, the stories, the support, to lead with influence, not just the authority that you earned. If you want to go deeper into any of this, I've got two things for you. First, grab that free guide that I mentioned earlier, the 10 steps to confidently lead high-performing teams. It's packed with real-world strategies to build trust, fix culture, and lead powerfully without burning bridges. The link is in the description right below. And if this message really speaks to you, you're definitely going to want to check out my Foundations course. It's a full leadership development experience that takes everything that we've covered here to the entirely next level. The link to the course is in the description below as well. But even if you decide to stop right here, I'll leave you with this. Your next leadership test probably will not show up on your calendar. It'll show up in a conversation that doesn't go the way that you planned. So the question isn't, will conflict happen? It's, who will I choose to be the next time it does? Choose calm, choose clarity, choose to lead like a diplomat. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh man, this one. God. Whew, if I had $1 for every time.